Have you ever spoken, yet felt invisible? You share your thoughts, you express your truth, but it's as if your words vanish into thin air. No echo, no reaction, just silence. It makes you wonder, am I really being heard, or just making noise? Most people think the answer is to speak louder, to explain more, to fill every pause with words until someone finally listens. But here's the truth. Respect doesn't come from volume, it comes from presence. You can raise your voice all day long, but if your energy lacks conviction, no one will truly listen. The Stoics understood this centuries ago. They knew that real influence doesn't come from force or domination. It flows from clarity, restraint, and inner strength. When you speak with calm authority, when your words carry purpose instead of pressure, people lean in. They feel something deeper than sound. They feel your presence. So ask yourself, why do some people seem to command a room with just a few quiet words, while others struggle to hold attention no matter how much they say? The difference isn't in what they say, it's in how they say it. Their tone, their timing, their certainty, all speak long before their words do. In today's video, we'll explore timeless Stoic principles that transform ordinary speech into influence. Lessons that will sharpen not only your words, but your mindset, so that when you speak, people stop, listen, and remember. If you're ready to master that kind of presence, stay with me. And if you find value here, take a second to support the channel with a like, a comment, or a subscription. It helps more than you know. Now let's begin. 1. Eliminate the I'm sorry habit. Words shape perception. They define not only how others see you, but how you see yourself. One of the most subtle yet quietly destructive habits that erodes respect is over-apologizing. You might not even notice how often you do it, but every unnecessary I'm sorry chips away at your confidence, your credibility, and your sense of worth. Each one whispers, I don't belong here. I'm at fault for existing. Picture this. You walk into a meeting 2 minutes late. The first words out of your mouth? Sorry, I'm late. Instantly, you've framed yourself as the problem, as though your mere presence requires justification. But does it? Life happens. Traffic, delays, unexpected calls. You don't need to shrink for it. Instead, shift your tone. Say, thanks for waiting. One phrase signals guilt. The other, gratitude and control. It's subtle, but powerful, because language trains perception. Here's another example. You're walking through a crowded hallway and someone bumps into you. Without thinking, you blurt out, oh, sorry. But why? Why are you apologizing for existing in a shared space? You didn't do anything wrong. Yet the habit runs deep. So deep that we start saying sorry for things that don't even need forgiveness. And this habit seeps into everything. Your emails, your texts, your daily conversations. Sorry to bother you, but sorry, just checking in. Sorry, can I ask a question? They sound polite, but what they really communicate is self-doubt. When you keep framing your words as interruptions, people begin to see them that way. Over time, they don't just hear your apologies, they start believing them. I used to be trapped in this same cycle. I remember sitting in a meeting once, mid-sentence, making a valid point. Suddenly, someone interrupted me, and without even thinking, I stopped and said, oh, sorry. In that moment, I realized something powerful. I wasn't just apologizing for being late or for speaking up. I was apologizing for taking space, and that was the real problem. In the last part, we talked about how over-apologizing slowly erodes your confidence. How every unnecessary sorry makes you smaller in the eyes of others. Now, let's continue from that moment of realization, the turning point where awareness becomes action. I remember sitting in that meeting, the interruption still hanging in the air. Without even thinking, I said, oh, sorry, go ahead. And the second those words left my mouth, something clicked inside me. Why was I apologizing for being interrupted? Why was I shrinking to make others comfortable? That realization hit hard. I wasn't just giving up my voice, I was giving up my space. From that day on, I made a conscious decision to break the habit. And if you've ever caught yourself doing the same, here's a simple rule to follow. Before you say I'm sorry, pause and ask yourself, did I actually do something wrong? If the answer is no, reframe it. Instead of saying sorry for bothering you, say, do you have a moment? Instead of sorry, can I add something, say, I'd like to add something. Small shifts like these make a massive difference. They don't just remove unnecessary apologies, They reshape the way people perceive you. But there's another hidden danger in over-apologizing, one most people never notice. The more you do it, the more you train others to expect it. Without realizing it, you start teaching people that you're always the one at fault, that you'll take the blame, yield space, and accept unfair treatment without resistance. Maybe it begins with someone cutting you off mid-sentence. Then it becomes a colleague assuming you'll handle extra tasks just because you always do. And before long, your time, your energy, and even your boundaries are consistently disregarded. Picture this. A co-worker drops a last-minute task on your desk and says, "Can you take care of this?" If your reflex response is, "Oh, sorry, I'll try to fit it in," you've just set a precedent. Your workload is less important than theirs. You've communicated without meaning to that your priorities don't matter. Instead, try saying, "I won't be able to take this on right now. Let's figure out another solution." No apology, no over-explaining, just calm clarity and quiet confidence. The same principle applies beyond the workplace. Think about how many times you've said yes to plans you didn't want, just to avoid feeling guilty. A friend invites you to an event you have zero interest in, and you respond automatically, "Sorry, I can't make it." But why apologize for honoring your time, your energy, your peace? A more empowered response would be, "I won't be able to make it, but I hope you have a great time." No guilt, no excuses, just honesty, spoken with grace. Of course, there are moments when an apology is necessary, when you've genuinely hurt someone, when you've made a mistake. Owning it shows maturity, not weakness. The key lies in intentionality, apologizing when it's meaningful, not when it's automatic. So if you truly want to break this pattern, start small. Challenge yourself. Go a full day without saying "I'm sorry," unless it's truly deserved. Pay attention to the moments when that reflex kicks in. Catch yourself before you speak. Ask, is there a better, stronger way to express this? At first, it'll feel awkward, even unnatural, but over time it becomes effortless. You begin to notice the change, not only in how you speak, but in how people respond. They listen more. They take your words seriously, and slowly they start to treat you with the respect you've been giving away for free. Because eliminating unnecessary apologies isn't just about speech, it's about self-perception. When you stop apologizing for things that don't deserve an apology, you stop living like an inconvenience and start standing like a leader. And that's when the shift happens, the moment others begin to feel your quiet authority. Now that we've mastered this first principle, eliminating over-apologizing, it's time to move into another equally powerful Stoic practice, setting boundaries and sticking to them. Epictetus once wrote, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And if you want others to respect you, you must first respect yourself. One of the most powerful ways to do that is through boundaries. In the last section, we uncovered how eliminating unnecessary apologies builds self-respect. Now let's talk about the next foundation of true confidence, setting boundaries and sticking to them. People treat you the way you allow them to. If you don't define your limits, others will define them for you. We've all been there. Agreeing to something we didn't want to do just to avoid conflict, letting someone cross a line because we didn't want to seem rude, taking on more work because saying no felt uncomfortable. But here's the truth. When you don't set boundaries, you're not being kind. You're being a doormat. Think back to the last time you said yes when every part of you wanted to say no. Maybe it was staying late at work because a coworker didn't finish their task. Maybe it was replying to a late-night message when all you needed was sleep. Maybe it was listening to someone vent for hours while ignoring your own exhaustion. In those moments, you weren't prioritizing peace. You were prioritizing other people's comfort at the cost of your own well-being. I know this feeling too well. Once a friend asked me to help them move. My weekend was already packed, but I felt guilty turning them down. So I said yes. The moment the words left my mouth, regret followed. That weekend, I dragged boxes in the heat, drained, frustrated, not at my friend, but at myself. Why? Because I had the power to say no, and I didn't use it. That's when something clicked. Every time you say yes to something you don't want to do, you're saying no to something that truly matters. Your time, your energy, your priorities. From that point forward, I made a simple rule for myself. If it's not a true yes, it's a no. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the colour of its thoughts." If you constantly think and act as if your needs don't matter, people will believe you. But when you stand firm, when you communicate from self-respect, others sense it. They recognize that you operate from a higher level, and they respond with respect. Start small. If a friend invites you out and you don't want to go, don't over-explain or make excuses like, "I'd love to, but I've got so much to do." Just say, "I'm staying in tonight." No guilt, no apology, just clarity. Boundaries are like muscles. The more you use them, the stronger they become. At first it might feel uncomfortable. You'll worry about disappointing people or being misunderstood. But soon you'll realize something powerful. Those who truly respect you will respect your boundaries. And those who don't, they never respected you to begin with. Because boundaries don't push people away. They filter who belongs in your life. Now that you understand the power of setting boundaries, it's time to move into the next Stoic skill, one that amplifies every word you speak and every action you take, mastering the art of pausing. Seneca once wrote, "Silence is a lesson learned through suffering." And yet in our modern world, silence terrifies people. The moment there's a gap in conversation, most rush to fill it, rambling, over-explaining, talking too fast, all in an effort to appear confident. But here's the paradox. The more you speak to prove confidence, the less confident you appear. If you want people to truly listen, to feel the weight of your words, you must learn to pause. In today's world, quick responses are often mistaken for intelligence. Many believe that speaking faster makes them seem smarter. But the truth is, words without pauses lose their power. They blur together, becoming noise instead of meaning. The human mind isn't designed to process endless streams of rapid speech. It needs space to reflect, absorb, and respond. That's why pausing is such a powerful tool. Imagine you're in a meeting, presenting an idea. You rush through your points, eager to sound impressive. By the time you finish, no one seems engaged. Now imagine a different approach. You speak slowly, with measured confidence. You pause, let your words breathe, and allow silence to carry your message further. That's how true communicators command a room, not through speed, but through stillness. When you reach a key point, pause. Let it breathe. Let it land. Instead of rushing to fill the silence, allow it to do its work. And suddenly, something powerful happens. The room leans in. People absorb your words. They don't just hear you, they feel what you're saying. Some of the greatest speakers in history understood this secret. Winston Churchill, Barack Obama. They mastered the art of the pause. They knew that silence isn't empty. It's a tool. It creates emphasis, it builds tension. And above all, it projects authority. I had to learn this lesson the hard way. Early in my career, I thought intelligence meant speaking, a lot. I answered questions before they were even finished. I over-explained every idea, filling every quiet moment with words because silence made me anxious. But after one particularly chaotic presentation, my manager pulled me aside. He looked at me and said, "You have great ideas, but you don't give people time to absorb them." That moment hit me like a mirror. I realized that my words weren't landing. They were just colliding with noise. So the next time I spoke in a meeting, I decided to change everything. I slowed down. I took my time. After each key point, I paused, not because I forgot what to say, but because I wanted my words to matter. At first, it felt awkward, almost like I was doing something wrong. But then, something incredible happened. People started paying more attention, not less. They leaned in, waiting for what I'd say next. They weren't distracted, they were engaged. Afterward, someone came up to me and said, "That was really impactful. Every word felt like it mattered." That was the moment I understood what Marcus Aurelius meant when he said, "Think before you speak, but when the moment comes to act, do not hesitate." Pausing is not hesitation, it is precision. It sends a message. I trust my words to stand on their own. It shows composure, confidence, and control. And this skill doesn't just apply to public speaking. It transforms arguments too. When someone raises their voice, your instinct is to react, to fire back, to defend, to match their energy. But when you pause instead, the power dynamic shifts instantly. That silence forces the other person to think. It breaks their rhythm. And suddenly, they're reacting to your calmness instead of you reacting to their chaos. That's the kind of composure Stoics practiced. deliberate, unshaken, powerful stillness. Pausing also changes how you show up in everyday life. The next time someone asks you a question, resist the urge to answer right away. Take a breath, think, then speak. This subtle shift makes you appear more thoughtful, more deliberate, the kind of person others instinctively respect. Here's a simple exercise to start mastering it. In your next conversation, whether casual or professional, pause briefly after your main points. Let the silence do the heavy lifting. At first, it'll feel strange. You'll be tempted to fill the gap. Don't. Trust it. Over time, you'll notice the difference. People will listen more intently. Your words will carry more weight. Because mastering the art of pausing isn't just about speech, it's about control. It's about knowing that your words have value and that silence isn't something to fear. It's something to own. Now that you understand the power of the pause, let's move on to the next Stoic communication skill, one that adds warmth without weakening your authority, using humor wisely without diminishing your presence. Now that you've learned to command silence, let's move to another essential skill, one that brings warmth and humanity to your presence without sacrificing credibility, using humor wisely. Seneca once wrote, "Laughter should not be abundant, nor should it be absent. There is a time for everything." Humor, when used well, is a powerful bridge. It breaks tension, builds trust, and makes your words memorable. In fact, studies show that people who use humor effectively are often seen as more intelligent, confident, and likable. But here's the catch. If you misuse humor, it can destroy your credibility faster than anything else. There's a fine line between being witty and being the person no one takes seriously. If every time you speak you turn everything into a joke, people won't see you as clever, they'll see you as a clown. Respect doesn't belong to the person who entertains the most. It belongs to the one who knows when to be serious and when to lighten the moment. Have you ever been in a meeting where someone keeps cracking jokes? At first, everyone laughs, but slowly the laughter fades. Their words lose weight. No one looks to them for leadership, only for amusement. I made that same mistake early in my career. I used humor to hide my nerves. Whenever I felt uncertain, I'd joke, thinking it made me approachable. And sure, people laughed. But deep down, I noticed something. They didn't take me seriously. One day during a team meeting, I joked about being there just to make spreadsheets look pretty. Everyone chuckled, but my manager didn't. Afterward, he pulled me aside and said, "You're better than that. Don't make yourself the punchline." That moment stuck with me. It was a turning point. So how do you use humor in a way that earns respect instead of losing it? First, understand the purpose of your humor. Is it to ease tension? To make a point memorable? To create connection? If it serves no purpose beyond getting a laugh, it's probably not worth saying. Second, avoid excessive self-deprecating humor. A little humility makes you relatable, but constant self-mockery slowly destroys your authority. Instead of saying, "I have no idea what I'm doing," say, "This is a learning experience and I'm figuring it out." The first makes you sound uncertain, the second shows confidence and adaptability. Third, read the room. Not every joke fits every moment. Sarcasm can sound arrogant. Dark humor can offend. Before making a joke, ask yourself, will this add to the conversation or will it distract from it? Marcus Aurelius once advised, let your words be few and well considered. Humor should serve a purpose, not dominate the message. Timing, too, is crucial. The best humor feels spontaneous, but it's always controlled. Drop it strategically, when it can shift the energy, calm a tense moment, or emphasize a key point. A well-timed, subtle joke from a leader shows confidence, but constant joking shows insecurity, a craving for approval disguised as charm. And finally, don't use humor as a shield. Sometimes people joke not because they're funny, but because they're afraid of being real. If you're uncomfortable, don't hide behind humor. Pause. Collect your thoughts. Then speak directly. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is tell the truth, plainly, without distraction. The bottom line, humor is a tool, not a crutch. Use it to elevate your message, not to escape it. Master this balance and your presence becomes unforgettable, the kind that makes people laugh and listen. Now that you understand the power of humor, let's move on to something even more crucial, a principle that will refine your character and strengthen your influence from the inside out, eliminating gossip from your speech. Few things destroy respect faster than gossip. The very moment people realize you speak about others behind their backs, they stop trusting you. Because deep down they know if you'll gossip about one person, you'll eventually gossip about them too. Gossip is tempting. It feels like a shortcut to connection, a quick way to bond, to feel important by sharing inside information. But in truth, it does the opposite. It doesn't make you look smart or trustworthy. It makes you appear insecure, small, and weak. Think about the people you respect most in life. They're not the ones whispering in corners or trading secrets in the break room. They're the ones who speak with integrity, who lift others up, not tear them down. I learned this the hard way. There was a time when I got caught up in office gossip. It didn't feel malicious, just casual chatter about co-workers' habits, quirks, personal lives. I told myself it was harmless, but one day I walked past a conversation, and I heard my own name. They were talking about me, my work, my mistakes, even my character, and in that moment it hit me like a mirror shattering. If they were gossiping about me, it meant I was no different from them. I had been feeding the very same energy I now despised. From that day on, I made a decision. I would not engage in gossip at all. And something remarkable happened. When you stop participating, people notice. They see you as someone who can be trusted, someone who doesn't need to tear others down to feel valuable. That quiet discipline earns far more respect than any fleeting sense of belonging gossip ever could. So, how do you stop? First, recognize when it's happening. Gossip isn't always obvious. Sometimes it wears a disguise: concern, curiosity, venting. But the key difference is this. Gossip talks about someone who isn't there, in a way that serves no purpose. If what's being said doesn't help solve a problem, heal a conflict, or improve a situation, it's gossip, plain and simple. Second, redirect the conversation. You don't need to confront people harshly. Just shift the energy. Try saying, "I'd rather not talk about that." That's their business. I hope they're doing okay. Anyway, what else is going on? These simple responses send a powerful message that you won't be part of the noise. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." So instead of indulging in gossip, focus your words on what actually matters: your growth, your goals, your character. At the end of the day, gossip might make you feel significant for a moment. But it will cost you something far greater in the long run: trust. And once trust is gone, respect follows. If you want to be respected, speak with integrity. Refuse to engage in pointless drama. Let your words carry purpose, not poison. Now that we've uncovered why gossip quietly destroys credibility, let's move on to our final Stoic communication skill, perhaps the most difficult of all: knowing when to stop talking. Epictetus once wrote, "If you wish to improve, be content to appear clueless or stupid in unimportant matters." In other words, wisdom isn't about saying more, it's about knowing when to say less. Many people struggle with this truth. They talk too much, over-explain, or dominate conversations without realizing that their words are losing power with every extra sentence. We've all seen it. The person who keeps explaining long after the point was clear, the one who talks over others, filling every quiet moment because silence feels uncomfortable. But here's the reality. The more you talk, the less impact your words have. I used to make that mistake myself. I thought persuasion came from volume, from providing as much detail and clarity as possible. I would over-explain, repeat myself, rush to prove I was right, all in an attempt to be understood. But what I didn't realize was that my effort to prove my intelligence was actually diluting it. I used to fill every pause with words, terrified that silence meant I was losing control. Then one day, after a long, drawn-out explanation during a team meeting, my boss pulled me aside and said something I'll never forget. "You had them in the first 30 seconds, but then you lost them." That moment changed everything for me. Talking too much often comes from insecurity, the fear that if we stop speaking, we'll be ignored, forgotten, or misunderstood. But here's the paradox. True confidence doesn't come from endless words. It comes from precision. The most respected people don't ramble. They speak with clarity, conviction, and calm. They trust that their message is strong enough to stand on its own. They know that silence isn't their enemy, it's their ally. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about others unless it brings some benefit." The same truth applies to speech. Don't waste words that bring no purpose. So how do you fix this habit? How do you learn to speak with power and presence instead of noise? First, be aware of your tendencies. Do you repeat yourself? Over-explain? Feel uncomfortable with silence? Awareness is always the first step to transformation. Once you see the pattern, you can break it. Second, practice the pause. Make your point, then stop. Let your words breathe. Let people absorb what you've said. At first, it'll feel awkward, like you've left something unfinished. But over time, you'll see that silence doesn't weaken your message. It amplifies it. Third, trim the excess. Before you speak, ask yourself, what's the clearest, simplest way to say this? The best communicators don't say more. They say exactly enough. No fluff, no filler, just meaning. This becomes especially powerful in high-stakes situations. Imagine you're negotiating a salary. You state your number, then stop. Every instinct screams at you to keep talking, to explain, to justify, to fill the silence. But the smartest thing you can do? Say it, then stop. Let the other person process your words. Let the silence work in your favor. The same applies to arguments, interviews, and everyday conversations. When you stop talking at the right moment, people listen more carefully. They take you more seriously. And that's what earns you respect. Now that we've explored all 6 Stoic communication principles, let's bring it all together with one final thought. Respect isn't something you demand. It's something you demonstrate. It's earned through the way you carry yourself, the way you speak, and the way you treat others. It's not about being the loudest voice in the room. It's about presence, the kind of presence that comes from self-respect and intention. When you eliminate unnecessary apologies, you project quiet confidence. When you set boundaries, you teach others how to treat you. When you master the pause, your words gain power. When you use humor wisely, you build credibility. When you refuse to gossip, you earn trust. And when you know when to stop talking, your voice carries weight. Apply these 6 principles, and you'll notice a transformation, not just in how others see you, but in how you see yourself. People will start listening more. They'll take you seriously. And most importantly, you'll start carrying yourself like someone who commands respect, effortlessly, without ever having to ask for it. Now tell me, which of these principles do you need to practice most? Comment below and share your thoughts. And if this message helped you, hit the like button, subscribe for more Stoic wisdom, and share this video with someone who needs it. Speak with confidence. Own your space. Never shrink yourself for anyone. More powerful lessons are coming soon. Stay tuned.